Up here because you know whenever I have Roland Martin on, folks start talking. Welcome back. I'm Rick Sanchez. Let me ask the question this way. If a liberal Democrat were to say publicly that white Republicans are just scared of black people, he would very likely get pounded by the media, right? I mean, think about what that conjures up. White people don't understand black people, that they don't want to understand black people, afraid of black people. I mean, it's an interesting question. So I'll let you fill your own conclusions here. What's weird about this is the person who said this is not a liberal Democrat. The person who affirmed this is the chairman of the Republican Party, saying that about Republicans. That is what Michael Steele is more than suggesting to my colleague Roland Martin. Roland's going to join me in just a little bit, but before we even get talking, he and I want you to watch that part of that conversation. Let's do it together. Here it is.
Popular president, got 95% of the black vote. You got any shot at getting black voters? And if so, what are the two issues that speaks to black voters the Republicans have a shot at?
Education and the economy. Education and jobs. Education and small business.
But your candidates got to talk to them. And one of the criticisms I've always had is Republicans, especially white Republicans, have been scared of black folks.
And what? You're absolutely right. I mean, I've been in the room and they've been scared of me. I mean, I'm like, I'm on your side, you know. So I can imagine going out there talking to someone like you, you know, who, you know, it's okay, I'll listen. And they're like, well.
What do you make? Well, Roland Martin is a CNN political analyst, I'm proud to say. We're colleagues, we're friends. I think I can go as far as to say that. And he and I spend a lot of time talking by email and everything else, every which way, as they say. And he's joining me now for this little segment we do every week. We call it R&R, Rick and Roland. Actually, you know, we're changing it. It's going to be Roland and Rick from now on, just to make you feel good, all right? I guess the first thing I should ask you is, as a journalist, is there any sense that what he said is being taken out of context? Is there anything he said prior to or after that makes us understand that maybe he didn't mean that?
No, he didn't mean it, because, and here's why. Because it is a provocative question. First and foremost, the question was asked on the show I host on TV1 cable network, Washington Watch with Roland Martin, targeting African Americans. Okay. And the reason I asked the question, Rick, is because Republicans, for a long time, frankly, have been absolutely afraid to even campaign in front of black people in terms of talking about the various issues, in terms of even reaching out to them. Last year, during the presidential campaign, Republicans absolutely did not even show up to the NAACP convention, National Urban League Convention. Tom Tancredo was the only candidate that actually showed up. Newt Gingrich and J.C. Watts both were highly critical, and they said the GOP cannot have a broad tent, cannot say we want to represent the entire country if you're even unwilling to even engage. And so we have seen this. Look, I've talked to many black Republicans over the years who have been absolutely frustrated with their own party. I'll give an example. There was a gentleman, Michael Williams, who's now chairman of the Texas Railroad Commission. Likely is going to be the next United States Senator if Caleb Bailey Hutchinson resigns and Governor Rick Perry appoints him to the job. He was going to have a fundraiser at his home, and there was a candidate running for Congress, and this was when the black churches were being burned down across the country. Remember that story, Rick?
Of course.
Well, this candidate, Mike called the candidate and said, hey, I think you guys simply ought to release a statement condemning the church burnings. Campaign calls back, no, that's okay. He said, no, I really think you should. That's okay. Mike's wife, Donna, finally said, any man who does not have the courage to condemn church burnings is not welcome in my home. They canceled the fundraiser. In Illinois, you have black Republicans who try to talk to the state party about how they can reach out to African Americans on a variety of issues, economic development issues, education issues, social issues such as gay marriage, such as abortion. Here was the response. Well, we're not going to talk about welfare. And they said, we didn't bring up welfare. So what you have is you have a party, that's historical here, Rick. It goes back to the Southern strategy, where they utilize the fears of whites, of African Americans, to play, and that strategy, frankly, went from '68 with Richard Nixon, frankly, all the way up to 2004. So you have a history here of party unwilling to even have a conversation
but you're
with
here
African
as
Americans on issues.
I just want to be clear. You're here as the guy who talked to him, telling us that this amplification you're giving us now represents what he understands as an African-American and as a Republican man.
Here's Here is Michael Steele, who understands in terms of what he has been trying to advance in the party. I've known Michael Steele for 10+ years. And so we have talked about this issue in terms of trying to get Republicans, white Republicans, to understand that you have to talk to them. But look, Mike Huckabee, when Mike Huckabee was governor of Arkansas, he got 48% of the black vote. Why? He didn't ignore them. He actually went to meetings. He actually sat down with grassroots activists. He talked about those things.
I want to stop for a moment.
For the senator
I want to stop just for a moment. I want to be fair. Angie and Michael, you're in the control room. We've been talking for 2 days about reaching out to Michael Steele, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the White House, and getting reaction from everybody on this. Has anybody given us anything? No comment, but we made all those phone calls, for the record. We did, okay. And we invited Michael Steele to be here. Just want to make sure that people don't think, well, here's Rick and Roland talking about a guy who's not there to represent himself. We've called all those folks.
This is a huge issue, Rick, that I have seen on the local level, and the state level, and the national level, and that is the inability for the GOP to even go the extra step and say, hey, let's even have a conversation. Ken Melvin, when he was the RNC chair, tried to do this here.
But here's what I want to ask you, and I know we're out of time, so we're going to do it. We're going to do it on CNN.com/live. Is fear ignorance?